Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm pleased to take a call because I've been reading the regulatory impact statement which relates to Part 1 of this bill, and I was looking for something quite particular. I was looking to see whether or not inland revenue in particular had done any costings around how much it would impact on the department to have to redo their communications and in particular their website. And why, you might ask, Mr. Speaker? Well, quite simply because IRD's website currently features what I would call a paper girl poster child. I'm not sure if you can see this, but currently on the IRD website, you've got a child at, say, probably roughly the age of, 13 members, with the title above, "Not sure how to go about your tax?" ? Well, I'd have to say, Minister, now I guess no longer that child is going to have to worry about entering for their tax credit, Mr. Chair.
Point of order, Tom McLean.
Table that iPad. I'd like to have a look at it.
Mr. Chair, if Todd McLean would like to see this online, it is on the IRD website, the home page. That's the first thing that will come up when you go onto the website, if you'd like to see that. But I could suggest, Mr. Chair, if the Minister would like to save some money, you could keep this as is and just leave the "not sure how to go about your tax" and just add "now you don't have to." Or perhaps we could just leave it and say, "It doesn't matter how old you are or where you are, we'll find you." Because that is essentially the change that we're seeing today. Now, in lieu of the regulatory impact statement featuring the changes that IRD will no doubt have to add to their communications, I was interested to see that there were several options considered by IRD in considering the changes to this particular tax credit. It's interesting to me, Mr. Chair, that the first option was to replace the tax credit with a limited tax exemption, and that's essentially, obviously, what the Minister has opted for. But I wonder, how much are the exemptions in his mind going to equate to? Of the 14 million we're going to save, does he have some kind of estimation as to what amount those exemptions would equate to of the 14 million the government intends to save from making this change? Because I note in para 25, and would the tax exemption apply to child modelling? I'm just interested, as an aside. And finally, in para 25, it says the second option, repealing the credit with no replacement, would mean large numbers of children earning small amounts of income would be pulled into the tax system. That's why I'm interested in that question, Mr. Chair and the Minister, because if we're actually still talking about large numbers of children being pulled into the tax system because not enough are exempt, then essentially you would not have achieved your intended outcome. So I'd be interested in the evidence that IRD has generated for you on that. I want to come back, Mr. Chair, to Part 1, in particular, Clause 4, Section 1, which sets out the age groups that this exemption applies to, because whilst, of course, we've been leaning back on the paper boy and girl, we are in fact talking about young people younger than 15 who could be in full-time work. Now, I know that we assume in this country that that shouldn't be happening. A child should be in school, but there are a significant number of 15-year-olds who get exemptions from secondary education and who are entering into work. And now, obviously, this will impact upon them. And, of course, those younger than 18, not exactly the child tax credit we were thinking, those younger than 18 who are in fact impacted by all of the Minister's welfare reforms and are in many, for all intents and purposes, often treated as adults in our system, rightly or wrongly. So if you're younger than 18 now, you're also going to lose out on this tax credit. Now, I imagine that the good, hard-working members of the National Party would have, at some point in their aspirational childhood careers, had one job at least, or if not multiple, and then themselves have benefited from this provision previously, because no doubt, as good tax-paying children that they would have been, I'm sure that they would have paid and filed their tax return, just like the child on the IRD homepage, Mr Macleay. And so in that sense, we're seeing yet another change that this government's members themselves have directly benefited from. So how much are we saving per person in this? Well, a couple of $100, but it's still amounting to $14 million for this government. And that's what demonstrates that we are scraping the bottom of the barrel in this budget.
Well, the Honourable David Parker.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. I want the Minister to